Welcome back to another episode of TreknoPod. We are on a continuing mission to explore the Enterprise series, episode by episode. And we're doing that with myself. My name is Shoff. And by the way, I want to clear the air here because everyone's like, Shoff, what the heck is that? That's a weird name, right? Okay, so my name is Jimmy Shoffman, and everyone calls me Shoff. All right, so that's just the backstory there. So you can call me Shoff, you can call me Jimmy, but if you call me James, I'm going to get really upset with you, and I don't want to get upset. Okay, so now that we've cleared the air, moving on. With me, as always, who's been on every mission since we started this whole thing, is Captain Vactor. How are you, Vactor?
James Tiberius Shoffman. I'm doing great, and I can't wait to talk about this episode because my voice is back. I can talk again.
It sounds so good. His dulcet tones have returned.
Ursula has returned my voice to me, and I'm ready to go on land. I'm ready to try out my legs. I'm ready. Let's go.
Yes. And then joining us again, which we're so happy to have back and so thrilled that she's agreed to be part of this ongoing mission, is Captain Linda Paiges. How are you, Captain?
Hello, I'm great. How are you?
Doing great. We're so happy to have you back.
I'm happy to be back. I'm really excited to talk about this episode. This is a great episode.
So we're digging right into the third episode of Star Trek Enterprise, which, by the way, I don't know if you guys caught this. Early on in this show, it's not referred to as Star Trek Enterprise. It's just called Enterprise. That was like a thing that Berman and Braga did to sort of differentiate it from what had come before with everything having Star Trek : whatever it is. And somewhere, I want to say like halfway through the series, they change it back to the correct format, which is Star Trek Enterprise. So right now, it's just Enterprise. But I just wanted to throw that out there. Not sure if you caught it, but it's a little bit, yeah. So anyways, we're talking about the third episode of the first season, which is Fight or Flight. So I just have a bunch of notes. I want to leave it kind of open-ended. Linda, you kicked us off last time. You always have some great notes. Let's hear what you got, because you just finished it like 5 minutes ago.
I did just finish it 5 minutes ago. Unfortunately, I was packing for college while I was watching it, so I was not taking notes this time.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry, but I am ready to talk about it. So
Very good. Well, if you don't want to go first, that's okay. Vactor, we can kick it off with you if you'd like.
Yeah, this is what feels like the first, like the pilot was establishing, the warp drive and all the things. This felt like Star Trek again to me. Like they're on the mission, they're exploring strange new worlds, and it really got that prequel vibe, like leaning into how Starfleet is inexperienced and hesitant and then sometimes reckless. And for me, this episode right here kind of crystallized, because I had never seen this episode before, what this show is, the reason why this show should exist is it's different from all of the shows that came before and even the ones that have come after. Even though Strange New Worlds is kind of the timeline is close to this time period, this feels like the first, and it also feels closer to our time than any of the other ones. Like I always felt like, especially with TNG, it's like, oh, this is the far future, replicators, the holodeck. This one, it's like, oh, this feels like this could be in a couple years, and the technology is not that far off. And I was like, man, this is interesting. I'm really into this, so I'm eager to see more of this.
Yeah, no, I like that. That's a great explanation. I was going to say we didn't get a chance to talk about it last week, but I wanted to get your guys' opinions on the NX-01. So like the ship itself, it's the Enterprise, but also it's doesn't look a lot like the Enterprises that we've seen in the past. So what do you guys think about it? Do you think it fits for the time period? One thing a lot of people had a lot of criticisms about Discovery is that they felt it was too advanced a ship to exist in that time period, and there was a lot of pushback from the fandom in regards to that. This ship, and as well as the interior feels very like submarine-esque. It's got, the quarters seem small, everything's kind of tight. Even their outfits don't really look like your traditional. Looks more like a jumpsuit of some kind of, if you were in a submarine or something like that. So, but what I wanted to get your guys' opinion, speaking of how the technology feels a little bit closer to now, what do you think about the ship?
I agree. I think it feels very, like what you were just saying, it feels very it feels closer to where we are now, feels much more attainable. It feels like we're looking into our near future as opposed to our like super, super ridiculously distant future, like with TNG or Voyager DS9. And I really like that about this show. I think it makes it more relatable and it's easier to connect to. Archer was talking, he said something at one point during this episode about it took us a few thousand years to get it right, but humanity is finally getting the hang of it, and something to that effect. And it was kind of like they're still, I mean, you'll hear them reference kind of in the DS9, Voyager, TNG era of Trek, like humanity had a really dark past, like we used to be like that, but they're so far removed from it that they don't personally relate to it. So it's nice that in this show they personally connect with that dark past, like they know. And yeah, that all to me is kind of tying into the same theme here with like the actual physical set, like the interior of the ship. I'm looking closer to like what we would see on like the ISS. And they're more connected to our part of history, which just makes the show feel, it's more fun to watch almost. 'Cause it's like,
but it still feels like Star Trek to you.
Yeah, it still feels like Star Trek. It feels like early Star Trek. I thought this episode I liked a lot more than the pilot. And this episode felt much more Star Trek-y than the pilot did. I was like,
everyone kept their clothes on, which was
everyone kept their clothes on. I was very excited. I was very excited about that. I was like patient. I was
nobody
like
got
nervously
contaminated.
Waiting. No, I was like,
there was that one scene where Phlox was like, you could see like it was the beginnings of potentially needing to have somebody go in and lather up, but he was like, nope, you're all good.
You're fine. Yeah, they were in the chamber. I was like, oh no, here we go. And they're like, oh, you're good. They're all clean. I was like, yes.
The whole time I was watching that scene, I was like, I wonder what Vactor and Linda are thinking right now. Like, are we going to get another one right away? Like, who else is going to have to show their skivvies?
I was in my closet, like pulling out clothes to take to college, and I heard like the sound in the chamber, and I like whipped around, and I was like, no, not 2 episodes in a row. And he was like, they're all clean, and I was like, yes.
Oh my
gosh. Yeah, I had something else to say, and I just forgot. Oh, I figured out who T'Pol reminds me of.
Okay.
And I was figuring out while she was standing with her hands behind her back. She's standing the exact same way that 7 of 9 does, and her costume is similar. And that's who she keeps reminding me. Like, she reminds me of someone that's not a Vulcan. She reminds me a lot of 7 to 9. And her and Archer.
Similar, like the way that she would respond with a little bit of attitude.
It's everything. It's her demeanor. It's the way she's standing. It's the fact that she pushes back constantly against Archer, just like 7 of 9 does with Janeway. And it's that constant, like, in both those scenarios, the captain's always like, this is what humanity does. So I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. This makes more sense. This is the logical thing to do. So I thought that was interesting. I finally figured out. I wonder if that relationship actually was inspired by 7 and Janeway. I would not be surprised.
Wow, interesting.
Yeah, it's very similar.
What's also fascinating is her outfit and everything being sort of skin tight is absolutely inspired by how 7 sort of set the playing field that way, and sort of began making Trek sexy in whatever shape, they wanted to do in a way that it hadn't been. Obviously, Trek has been sexy. I mean, they've definitely done plenty of things. Orion Slave Girls, whatever, like they've done it. But this was a different approach. Right. Yeah. So this episode is focused a lot on Hoshi. So we get to spend a lot more time sort of getting in her mindset and stuff. I got to say, like, I do love any episode that focuses on like a lesser bridge character. I think that's one thing where, like, I personally love Discovery, but it was so rare to get an episode that was about anybody other than Michael Burnham or Saru. And so, like, there was so much of the bridge crew that I couldn't even tell you. Like, if you asked me to name everybody on the bridge crew on Discovery, I probably wouldn't be able to do it. And I feel terrible as a Trekkie for that. But I also blame the fact that there were not stories being told about each member of the crew like this, where you can really like get to know all these characters and invest in their backstory and everything. So it's nice to get to know about Hoshi. She feels like a fish out of water in a big way, and that's really driven home through this slug that they have found.
Sluggo.
Sluggo. I feel like I've been sluggoed over the head with this theme over like just like on the nose type stuff of, okay, Hoshi has connected with this slug who also is out of place and doesn't feel in the right environment and is struggling. Like the themes were so, I guess, apparent that I felt like the episode lacked a sense of unpredictability in that regard. And while I understand that some stories, they don't need to be unpredictable, like they're just trying to tell something, this episode felt a little too predictable for me.
You probably could have taken that entire Sluggo part out and not have affected the story at all. I think the ending was kind of like, oh, okay, that's like you put a nice bow on it that she found a home for Sluggo, whatever. But yeah, I feel like that could have been removed and it would have streamlined it a little bit.
Yeah.
Because I was liking her arc on this episode. And another thing that it brought out was the whole communications aspect, which we don't get because of the universal translator in the later ones. Like this is a whole, again, a reason why this show like stands apart from the other ones. And the communications officer is so much more important on this show. So I'm liking discovering her and seeing what her kind of, I was going to not flaws, but her not understanding everything, not being perfect, not being right on the nose, and her struggles. It's kind of cathartic and say, oh man, now she got where she wanted to go. There's like a release at the end.
Yeah.
So I did enjoy that.
And it's kind of refreshing to see a character that's not so desensitized to everything going on. And I feel like you very rarely, if ever, see that in TNG, DS9, Voyager. Like
that's true.
Just another day at the job. Like we fought the Borg today. Oh well. Like it's just like when you think about like how horrific those kinds of situations would be, like her reaction was completely valid. Like she's a translator. Like this is not her thing. But yeah, the slug thing, I almost feel like that would have hit much harder if the slug had stayed with us for maybe a few episodes, or like if the slug were like a thing, and then like this episode was like when she finally released the slug, so it was like maybe we like wrapped up that. But I do have to say that if my Tribble over here were not already named Porthos, it would now be named Sluggo. Missed opportunity there for sure.
I love it.
But yeah, I agree. It was very on the nose, and it wasn't super predictable. But I did like when they first walked in and saw all the bodies, I was like, ooh, where is this going? Like, I love kind of these darker, scarier episodes of Trek a lot. There's like this. It reminded me a little bit of the Voyager episode where they get there and the hologram had killed all the living people on the ship, and they took the episode trying to figure out what happened. And I love that kind of episode like that. Like, so I was super excited. I was very invested from that point.
And seeing Archer so visibly disturbed during dinner, that he was feeling so much, like the empathy was so like resonant for him, that spoke to me a lot. And then there's also like his initial attempt at communicating with them. I liked his little message he was doing, because it was like the first time he's getting a chance to really do this, so like he doesn't have the confidence yet or like the script in mind of what he's going to be saying. But those were like the two glimmery moments, I guess, for him. But I have to say, like, at least Archer right now, to me, he's a little bit too much of a bigot. Like his prejudice towards Vulcans sort of overshadows everything else. And it informs so much of his decisions that it's like whatever T'Pol wants to do, he's like, I'm going to do the opposite.
Interesting. I had not thought of it like that, I guess. I think just because the Vulcans have been pissing me off so much that I'm kind of like, yeah, that's right, tell them. But now I feel like a terrible person saying that. But but yeah,
no, I think that's great that we have different perspectives.
But
to
be fair, T'Pol is also like that towards humans. So I think they have this nice and there's a lot of potential here to see this relationship play out and see them like bond and become friends and realize that species can be different and that they're going to benefit each other and blah, blah, blah. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I guess I didn't really think of that as prejudice, but I guess it is. Although it's formed based off of his unless there's something that we don't know about that's happened really big with Vulcans in his past that we might learn about soon. But it's so far, I feel like the way that he approaches Vulcan culture is relatively justified based on like his interactions with them and his experiences with them and kind of
and how much he felt like his dad was held back from
that's true
advancement.
He's got a huge chip on his shoulder.
But he lumps all Vulcans together, and that's
that is true.
That's
true.
Where,
and you shouldn't do
like
that.
A you people type thing. It's like, careful.
That is true. That's true.
Careful, pal. I gotta say, this is just a quick note, but when Hoshi was talking about the stars going the wrong way, that messed with my brain. Okay, I could not feel like I stopped the show, and I'm like, okay, stop. She's laying down. Stars going. She's on the starboard side. Start. I'm like I like my brain was melting out my ears because I was trying to visualize what she was talking about. And part of me was like, is that right? Does that make sense? And so I'm going to turn to our science expert.
Hold on, give me a minute. I don't know my left from my right, so I'm gonna need a second here to figure this out.
But at least she already knows that she's the science expert.
I guess, well, obviously they'd be on the other side, but they should be going, like, I'm assuming, like, your bed
Wouldn't
is
you
facing,
think they would go the same direction regardless? Yeah.
I guess depending on how the bed's oriented, maybe. So, like, from her.
But then I thought to myself, I'm
That's
like,
a good point. I didn't really think of it that hard, but now that you're saying it.
well, I thought to myself, I'm like, aren't her eyes closed? Like, you're trying to sleep. Just close your eyes. Like, you don't need to look out the window. It's going to probably hard to fall asleep if you keep your eyes open. So I don't know. Or wear like replicate a mask like any normal person. Like,
replicate a mask.
What killed me though is she was saying how when she was doing her training, she had a port side quarter, right?
Yeah.
Her quarters were on the port side. And then on the Enterprise, she was on starboard side. The person that she switched with, his name is Ensign Porter. So like
really?
he has a port room. His last name is Porter, and she's switching so she can get back to the port side. I was just like, is this writer just lazy? like, well, he's got to have a name. He's on the port side. Porter? How about Porter?
Wait. I think I just figured out the orientation. Okay, if you're facing the window, this is really hard to visualize on. If you're going that way,
that's what I mean. It broke my brain.
This way, and then if you're facing. Okay, I'm gonna get back to you on this.
All right, that's fine. Yeah,
we'll draw it out.
We'll circle back on it. It broke my brain. I struggled with it for sure. Also, a little tiny thing, but Captain Archer is like on the floor trying to find a squeaky like sound.
Yes.
Hoshi has already established that she can hear things in space that nobody else can hear, but he's the only one who hears the squeak. But the audience hears it too. I heard it, and I'm like, Hoshi, don't make this guy out to be some crazy person. You know, you hear it too. Say something.
That's what I love about this show. Like, it has this like human moments, like just like life on the ship, and I really like that. And I wish that we'd had that more in the other Star Treks. Like, we're definitely missing that. So that I've really been enjoying that in Enterprise.
That's a great point. Yeah, and I think that's also evident with like the targeting computers, like the fact that like we take that for granted. How like has there ever been a phaser that didn't make contact with a ship? You know, like if you fire phasers, they're not even like worried about targeting. It's like it's targeted. Right. It just automatically does that. Like you don't need to be like carefully manually like the whole thing. Like Malcolm, you know, was struggling with that, and they were wasting a bunch of torpedoes trying to get it to work out. And I was like, man, this is definitely like they are out of their depths with some of these things. And yeah, they kind of were rushed out into space initially for their mission, but there's really no reason why they couldn't have, after the first mission was done, then taken some time to get things like figured out.
I wonder if and when they're going to head back to Earth to like, dock or a space station somewhere in that side to like, you know, replenish and dock. But yeah, the writers have definitely been paying attention so far and thinking of all these things that like we might not really have thought about as Trekkies, and it's been very entertaining kind of watching the beginning of all of these technologies that we've taken for granted in the other series. Like, why did they need that? Right? Like, who thought of that? Was this a problem that they had encountered? So yeah, that's been really cool.
100%.
I loved the scene with Trip and Phlox eating a meal together. That was so fun.
I was going to say, that was this funny. Episode, last time you asked me who my favorite was, and I said Phlox on a previous episode. And I got to say, this one, I just fell more in love with him. He was more comic relief. He was more he was the balance to, like we were talking about earlier, this being like the horror episode. Like there's a lot of creepy stuff in this one, a lot of tension. And he kind of brought that balance of the curiosity about humans and their food and their behavior. I think they're going to mate later. Do you think they'll let me watch? Like that made me laugh out loud.
They did not look like they were going to mate later, by the way. They did not. The guy wasn't even looking at the girl. They weren't even talking to each other. There's no mating happening tonight.
But I feel like he's going to be my favorite. You know, just from these first couple episodes, I can already see what type of character he is. And I liked Neelix a lot. And it just felt
Space Hobbit.
Yeah, the guy that, although he went on the away mission, I was going to say the guy that stays behind on a lot of things. I like just his presence, that actor, and the way that they're using him so far. So he's still my favorite, and I'm still happy to see that. Shoff, I was actually going to ask you about this. How often does the captain go out on away missions? Because when Archer went out on this, I was like, why is he not sending someone else? Isn't he like the most important person on the ship?
It's the Star Trek effect.
Yeah.
They all do it. Yeah.
It's Captain's prerogative.
It's dumb, but they all do it.
It's so funny though. You say that because Trip, right? He like runs up to Archer in the hallway and he's like, "Hey, can I get on this mission? I really want to explore.
Please, you'll need an engineer.
The last thing I want to do is hang out in engineering." And he's like,
"Well,
you are the chief engineer."
The career path that I chose in Starfleet to be an engineer. However,
he was like, "I didn't sign up for this so I could sit in engineering. That's your one job, dude."
Yeah. And Phlox like, "Well, I don't want to be stuck in sickbay all day." Well, then maybe you shouldn't have been a doctor. That's kind of part of the job description. Yeah. I do agree with you on Phlox. I have been really enjoying that, like the kind of observing humans in this really like casual way, just casually scientific mind. I don't know. That's been really interesting to me.
And he had a sick burn on Hoshi in this episode.
Yeah. Maybe it should be a teacher.
Holy moly. Yeah, she says, she's talking about the slug and she's like, she needs to get back to an environment that is more suited to her. And Phlox is like, perhaps somewhere she can teach. And I was like, oh my God, sick burn.
I thought the same thing, but I was also like, she's talking about the slug, and I was like, this is so.
And then like camera just pans on Hoshi's face, and she's like, just like,
yeah, cannot believe
all color has been
melted away. I think that's gonna be a good building block for their relationship. Like I said, I haven't seen the rest of this season, but I feel like that's gonna be something to keep an eye on, is like their relationship going back and forth. And I thought those two were, for me, like the two that I gravitated towards in this episode was Phlox and Hoshi, going back and forth between them.
Yeah. I really liked Hoshi a lot. I think she might be my favorite as of right now.
Yeah.
It was just very realistic.
Yeah.
This struggle of, do I really belong out here? Maybe I'm not cut out for this. Like, this isn't really what I wanted to do, and I kind of just ended up here. I think I need to go back. And that kind of journey to realizing that, no, I can push myself. I can do this. This is. I thought that was very relatable. I felt that a lot studying physics. I started as a theater major, so I felt like I related to her a lot in this episode of like, maybe I'm not cut out for this. Maybe I should go home. Like, this is maybe not something I'm meant to do. And then by the end of the episode, being like, no, I can do this. It's going to be hard, and I'm going to have to work at it, but I can do it. And I was like, yeah.
Speaking of which, you're studying physics and everything. What is your, like, if you could set in like an end game for yourself, what would be like your, like, channeling all these gifts to get to what?
I would really like a company that designs and develops medical technology for space travel. So I'm planning on getting my MBA and then maybe master's in biomedical engineering. That's my... But I love Astro so much that
that's awesome.
That I could do that too. So I don't know. We'll see. I've really enjoyed it. I've been working a little bit with NASA this summer and really, really enjoying that. I'm doing a program with them. So I have no idea. We'll see.
So cool.
But, yeah.
So cool. I love that. Hoshi had one line that I thought was funny. She says, "Their grammar sounds bimodal."
Oh yeah. I was like, how the hell would you know? I looked that up.
I was like, bimodal? I looked it up and it's a complete goof because bimodal just means that it's two modes, but really in the standpoint of like language or grammar, that would be the equivalent of a person speaking English and also speaking sign language. But like there would be no way for her to know that from like a recording on an alien ship.
She's just that good.
Yeah, she's just that amazing.
Just that good at what she does that she could tell just from listening to. And I know that's like what it's supposed to be. Like, she's just that good at this, but like it definitely came across as like, how the hell? And then at the end of the episode where Archer was like, talk to them, like, you can do it. It was like motivational. She goes, there's literally there's no possible way for me to do that. And then she gets up and does it. And I was like, well, obviously there was. So why did you say that there wasn't? It's like the reverse of the Star Trek engineers. Like the Star Trek engineers are always like, actually it's the same thing. They're like, oh, well, it'll take us 2 hours. Captain's like, do it in 3 minutes. And then somehow they do it.
I'm giving her she's good.
Yeah. I also
go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, I also got the shadow of Uhura's episode in Strange New Worlds where she was communicating with that through song with that alien.
Caught up on Strange New Worlds.
And my current favorite show. But I would say, like, even though Uhura came before, because the original series, like the Uhura in Strange New Worlds, I felt like you could trace her path back to Hoshi in the way that she had to be confident and had to take the mission relied on her communication skills. And Uhura, we see that later in Strange New Worlds, which is like, giving the communications officer more weight in their role because we don't have universal translators. I like that a lot.
You know, it just dawned on me, and I never considered this before. After TOS, there's no more communications officers.
Well, you wouldn't need them because of the universal translator. Yeah. So it's interesting that Uhura was, when they originally came up with Trek, like, oh, we got to think of all these things that we're going to need.
Over by AI.
Yeah, that's 100%.
Well,
that's
okay, we say that. But Harry Kim kind of is a communications officer in Voyager. Anytime Janeway's like, hail them, open a channel, she's always talking to Harry Kim. So I think maybe it just got like redefined and maybe the responsibility
became ops.
Yeah, like it just kind of like it shifted a little bit and it kind of included different responsibilities, but that I don't think it like went away. Yeah. It just changed because they just didn't need they just needed someone to push buttons now, as opposed to it was like less involved, so they just combined it with other things. I think is like,
I like that. Okay.
Is what happened, because I have also had that thought. I was like, what happened to this? But I think it just changed.
Right. But like I said, that's what this show, again, setting itself apart and giving. There's so many new stories, opportunities now because of we don't have that technology. We don't have the things that we see later on. It's like there's so many stories of how do we get to that point.
Yeah.
This episode definitely an improvement I think on like the narrative that they're telling and where we're headed to. So far, are we glad that we have embarked on this mission with Enterprise?
Yes, 100%. Because this was on my wish list of Star Trek shows, and I was like, man, when am I ever going to get around to Enterprise? We talked about this show before we started the podcast. I was like, man, I would love to be forced to watch Enterprise, and now this is my way of doing it, and I'm 100% happy. The only thing I'm not happy with so far is a lot of the CG, and there's some green screen stuff that has not aged well in 20 years, and I'm like, ooh, I kind of
have you seen TOS?
Yeah.
Well, I like there's some I was gonna say quaint, something endearing about the original series, because it's it was so long ago, and
the cardboard set.
Yeah,
it's wonderful. It's so
the
good.
styrofoam rocks. And I showed my wife because so let's see, I don't want to spoil this for you, but Linda, do you know the villains that appear in Strange New Worlds?
I don't, but don't worry about spoiling anything because I live on Trek Talk, so I'm gonna see it either way.
So the Gorn are in Strange New Worlds, and they're kind of reinvented.
Okay. Yeah.
So I was showing my wife the Gorn episodes, and she's like, "Oh man, this is great." And I said, "You want to see what the original Gorn looked like?" And I showed her the William Shatner fight. No. She's like, "No, this is not real. There's no way that this aired on television."
No. You know the best scene or the best episode to social one is, I don't remember what the episode's called, but the one where they put the dog in the unicorn costume, and they were like, "Look, it's a new life form." And I was like, "Is it really?" There wasn't anything else. You could have just... The thing about that really kills me is, it would have been better if they just put the horn on the dog as opposed to putting it in a onesie. That was just...
At least
put a headband on it or something and cover it with the fur. Why did you put it in a onesie? It was so funny. And it gets me every time I watch it. And they're all just, standing around. They're all so serious about it. It's great. It's 100%. So
At least with TOS, they did those remasters where they they redid the space scenes, and everything else, the interiors was the same. But with this one, I was like, maybe if I can get a remaster on just the space parts of it, I would feel a little bit better. But I do place myself in this time period of, okay, this was early 2000s, around this time. But yeah, it's sometimes I'm a little bit ooh, I see that.
That's
I wanted to share just a quick bit of trivia about this episode. So this one, I know that Linda, you're going to really appreciate. So the director of this episode is Alan Croker, I think, or Kruker. I will probably butcher his name, but that's not the point. The point is that he, as director, he previously directed Endgame, which is the finale of Star Trek Voyager.
I've seen that exactly one time.
I know.
Yep.
And he also directed the finale of Deep Space Nine, What You Leave Behind. So I thought that was interesting. He's got some pretty big Star Trek episodes under his, sitting on his shoulders before he attacks something like Enterprise, which is sort of in the past. And then we were talking about Phlox. He apparently had some difficulty wearing the spacesuits because of all of his prosthetics. And when he was removing his helmet, he actually pulled off one of his prosthetic ears. So I thought that was kind of funny.
Endgame, I think before it was taken off Netflix, I don't remember where I read this. This could be entirely untrue. But I remember reading that it was Endgame was the most rewatched episode of Star Trek on Netflix.
Oh, nice.
And I wouldn't be surprised at all because it's a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
I remember, I think I was 13 the first time that I watched it, and I remember sobbing, and I remember thinking to myself, I will never put myself through this ever again. I'll never make myself do this again. I'll never rewatch it. But it's such a good episode. But yeah, that's really interesting. And I think taking off the prosthetic ear is really funny. That's awesome.
And that was a banana slug, by the way, a banana slug.
See, I just assumed it was an alien slug. I wasn't really... found it on another planet. Speaking of that, though, I always think that it's interesting that whenever any like alien dish or animal or whatever is talked about on Star Trek, it's always like Vulcan pasta or like Vulcan, like they just stick the alien name in front of a human thing.
Yeah.
And I always think that that's like they didn't come up with their own name for it, like, or is that just like the universal translator doing its thing where it's like, this is pretty close to what it is in your language, so you can just say that. Like,
that is funny.
Speaking of food, a couple of things. Porthos, we got to see him eating cheese. I told you that was going to be a thing. And this scene with the Trip and Phlox was laughing so hard. He's eating like a piece of potato. And the dude, he's like crunching into the potato. And I'm thinking to myself, dude, that thing is not done. Like, you should not be crunching a potato.
Put that back in the replicator for a minute.
Synthesized proteins, yeah.
And he was like, this is good. I love this. You just wait until it's fully cooked. Then you're going to really be happy. That spud was not ready. Anyway, so that's what we got for you. Now, one thing we didn't do last week, but I want to make sure we have a chance to do is to give our captains a chance to plug anything else they want to plug. So I'm going to start with, ladies always go first. So we'll start with Captain Linda. Go ahead and plug anything you'd like. I know you've got a podcast you're about to record after this one, so definitely share whatever you'd like to share.
Yes, it's a busy night. I am collaborating with the Transporter Room. It's a great podcast. You should definitely check it out. And I am starting a segment called Trek Tech, where I'm going to use my physics brain and explain the different technologies and sciencey things that happen in Star Trek and like how this would work, and we'll debate it and talk about it. Obviously, we're starting with transporters because how could we not start with transporters? Also, if you, like me, are a huge Star Trek Voyager fan, then you should check out my TikTok because I will give you endless Voyager content, I promise.
Her TikTok's amazing. I just try to make mine like halfway as good as hers. That's what I shoot for.
I've been loving your TikToks recently. I've been laughing.
Thank you.
They've been great. Yeah.
I appreciate it. Captain Vactor, what about you, sir?
Yes, I am talking all things comic books over at This Comic Cooks on YouTube and on TikTok. I'm doing a series right now where I talk about different Green Lantern rings, taking DC guys and putting them on Marvel characters. So I talked about a Blue Lantern ring going on to Captain America. So kind of mixing and crossing over.
Interesting.
The multiverses are crossing. That is on This Comic Cooks.
Sweet. I've been able to guest a few times on This Comic Cooks. It's a wonderful podcast. I highly recommend it. Vactor is also equally knowledgeable on all Star Wars content too, and definitely he covers that from time to time. Yeah, there's the saber.
I can't show you because my 4 is a disaster packing for college, but I do have 2 lightsabers down here that I am bringing with me. I just ordered lightsaber like wall mounts for my dorm.
Oh,
yes.
nice.
I'm super excited about it. Yeah.
Love that. I have one from Galaxy's Edge.
Yes.
Like when you make
one
them.
you build.
Yes,
Yeah.
I want to do that for my 21st birthday. I want to have
It
my
was such
first
an
drink.
amazing experience. I loved it. Yeah.
I want to have my first drink and make a
in my
lightsaber.
closet right now.
Nice.
That's awesome. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, the next episode of Enterprise is called Strange New World, I believe.
Ooh.
Yep, Strange New World.
Is it really?
So, yep, it sure is.
Look at that foreshadowing.
Looking forward to that. I almost watched it today, but I'm like, no, I
Gotta
don't want to
wait.
get ahead of myself.
Well, the next episode we record will be from my new dorm.
That's exciting.
Oh,
Very
I
exciting.
know.
A Strange New World for you.
A strange new world for me. Yeah. Well, not entirely. Same building I lived in last year.
A
but
strange new world. All right,
Oh,
folks.
yeah.
look,
I
we
got to
can-
say real quick,
go for it.
because Shoff just got inspired in my brain right now. Every time I hear the theme song now for this show, Enterprise, I hear Shoff's voice in my head. I hear it every single time.
I started singing with it today. I was just humming along. I was like, I'm not even gonna skip it.
Road. Yeah.
I was like, I should actually text my producer and be like, "Can we want to cover this song? Like, can we make this a little intro?
Oh my gosh, please!
My upcoming project. Like, it does not fit.
Please
the
make it
vibe
a duet.
at all.
Please make it a duet.
I should text him and ask him. We could like sample it in something at the very least. That'd be kind of cool.
Please. Yes, please.
That'd be really funny.
The stars have aligned. Here we go. Awesome. Well, yeah. With that, let's just put that out in the universe. We got to make it happen. Okay. So next week or next time we you hear from us, it'll be Strange New Worlds, or Strange New World. Excuse me. Just one world. Just one. Just one. But thank you so much for listening to TreknoPod. We really, really appreciate your support. Please tell a friend, another Trekkie, get somebody else into Trek. It's your job. You're the gatekeeper. You can make it happen. Thank you so much. We love you. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.